You are live.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome everyone to the September 29th meeting of the NSA Ad Hoc. I'm alternate Commissioner Farmer. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to review the agenda. Basically, tonight we're going to discuss the things that we're working on throughout the week that we said we're going to discuss last week. And here's a copy of the agenda. Can everyone see that, or I need to make it bigger? It's big enough? Okay.
Yeah, I see it.
Maybe that's a little better. Okay, so let's quickly go over the timeline, which is the plan of action and milestones. Make sure we stay on track. So here we are, September 29th. We're going to discuss the recommendations surrounding the KPIs and the template, a little bit about the sustainability period. Inspector General Maloof and I had some discussions around that earlier in the week, and we'll touch on that. When we get to that part, Inspector General Maloof, I'll reach out to you. And then next week, in preparation for our upcoming Police Commission meeting, hopefully, ideally, we're ready to send like a rough draft of the KPIs and the OPA template to our Chief of Staff to have on the agenda for our October 9th Police Commission meeting and propose those to the rest of the commission and make a final decision, ideally, by then, because we had said that we wanted to finalize both of those items by October 14th, ideally, which is right here, if you follow where I'm at. And then out of those discussions, as Vice Chair Booker was pointing out last week, those discussions ideally help us get started with the CMC statement, and then we continue on with that. And we have, I think we've given ourselves around a month to have the draft CMC statement done from October 14th, because we're going to vote on it at our November 13th meeting. So yeah. So from that point, we'll have a little bit under a month. But as we start to have these discussions around the KPIs and the template, I'm starting to take some notes and do like an outline for the CMC statement. So we are getting started as we progress in these discussions, including with tonight. So let's go ahead and go to that part of the agenda. I know that Chair Garcia Acosta is joining it. Oh, he's here.
Yeah,
Good evening,
he's here.
Chair. Good to see you, Katina. Good to see everybody. Um, are there any questions about the timeline at all from anyone? Looks good so far? All right, very well. Okay, OPD template and KPI input. Um, so I want to start with, I did receive input from Inspector General Maloof on his input for the OPD template. And I'm going to pull up what you sent me, Inspector General Maloof. So can you briefly go over what you had in mind, what you were sending me via email about the template that you wanted to see around
Sure.
policy?
Sure. Well, the only thing I was really focusing on, because I was a little confused because I wasn't quite sure if this was a template that OPD is to do or we to do in collaboration. So I really just went to section 5, which is his collaboration with the OIG. And that's the part I figured, well, I feel comfortable talking about things in here, just kind
Mhm.
of updating things, but didn't really feel comfortable about the rest of the document because I wasn't quite sure if that was in my purview to really change or anything.
And just so you know, before you continue, so this is the template during the meeting, during OPD's department report. This is what they're going off of when they make that report. And so we have the ability to shape this to have them report out on what we want them to report out on.
Got you. Okay. So what I did is regarding the NSA inspection 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, 13, and 34. 34 should be in there as well. You know, the 3 is actually done. And so we did the give our recommendations. I'm sorry, I'm looking at two different screens, so excuse me for looking this way over here.
You want
We
to have, I'm sorry, I just want to ask you really quickly. You meant to have task 34 in here as well under the project column, is that right?
Yes, sir, that is correct. And so from 4 to 34, and obviously with some tasks missing in between, those are the ones that we are going to do an audit, a full-blown audit on with our audit contractor as soon as that gets squared away. We're anticipating for it to start October 1st, but that might get delayed just because of just dealing with contracts and making
You
sure
said October 1st?
October 1st, yeah, in a couple of days is to begin the audit of those inspections or those tasks.
The rest of them, you're talking about 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 13, right?
And 34,
And
correct.
34. All right. Okay, great. Please continue.
Yeah. And again, task 3 is done. So we already submitted our recommendations and considerations, which OPD has accepted. Um, I see something regarding Scully. I'll try to get to that. So as far as the OPD staffing study, so that has also been completed. And I think realistically that the next time, maybe the staffing study should be deleted off this because it's been completed now since June. And it was the staffing study was giving a baseline approach and showed basically that OPD is lacking in staffing by 199 officers for the most part, and that their priority 1, 2, and 3 calls are way off base compared to some of the other cities, 7 other cities that they compared it with.
So all of this, you maybe want to have them make one more report on it. Is that what you're saying? And then move on to something else?
Well, I don't think that OPD has made any report on the staffing study that I remember, not specifically. They did to council, the staffing study people did a report out to council, but I think it's important that OPD address the staffing levels and the
Okay.
priority report, the reporting out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the priority calls one,
Right.
two, and
No, I got you. Yeah, the priority calls and the staffing study. So you put this in here. You want to have them report on this.
correct.
All right. Thank you.
And then for M19 audit response, that has been under review. That was prior to my arrival. So what I did there is basically try to figure out where it stands, and I guess it's just um, still under review.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, I think we were talking about that at the last meeting. What's the status of that, finalizing that? I believe it might be with city council, but anyways, you want to have that in the report
Yeah.
as
And
well.
then the
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, and then the sexual misconduct policy, I guess that's still uh, waiting for city council to identify a new project manager for that. So that should be discussed to see where they stand on that, because that's been quite some time, almost a year or a year,
Hmm.
almost a year today.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And IG Maloof, are these items kind of ongoing items that you want the chief to continually provide updates on, or are these kind of point in time um, reports that you'd like from OPD?
So it's a good question. So I think like the sexual policy, things that have been pending for quite some time. I would like to get an update to see where we are on that. And so as far as the sexual misconduct, I think that's important to kind of figure out where we are.
Yeah.
Being that
And
it was submitted almost a year ago.
I think we'll probably do what Vice Chair Booker recommended last week, and that's to maybe rotate the things we want reported out on as we see fit. Maybe you want to have, 2 straight meetings where they make reports out on this information, and then the following month you have something else already ready to go. I believe that's, that's our intention, at least at the moment it is. Anything else on what you included here, Inspector General Maloof, or any other comments or questions from anyone?
I don't have anything further, so you got to excuse me because I wasn't quite sure what the exact assignment was. So when I looked at this section, I just figured, well, these are some updates. This is where we stand on this. So let
Yeah.
me clarify, what Katina was saying. Do I want them to report out on it? I mean, I don't know what is typically done. I know for sure that this collaboration with OIG has not changed for a long time. It's been the same thing over and over. So I was just trying to update it and whether or not they need to talk about the staffing study, some of the other things. I would like to know about some of the sexual misconduct policy. Some of the other things, it's been some time, and I'm not sure if they actually spoke on it already or not.
Yeah, no, I think it's like Chair said last week, we want to put in here what are everyone's top goals. Us, you, CPRA, and have them report out on it, and either have them do it consistently for a short period of time or a long period of time, and then depending on whatever the case is, have them report out on other things as well, but not necessarily in perpetuity. Like you're saying, this section of their template may not have changed for some time, so we want to make sure that this template reflects what our top goals are at the time. All right,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Anything else, Inspector
No,
General?
that's it. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from anyone?
Just on that section, what I was just thinking is, whatever, it's a template. So whatever we can put that keeps it open. And I don't, pardon me, I don't know how it really works, but we could say like current audit, what's happening, and we can have them update. So it doesn't have to be attached to a particular thing. It's a current audit, current policy that's under, current, whatever it is, just like have that, those little sections. It might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or not. But so like, you know, policy type up for review, or current policy that just passed or failed, or where are we with the audit, or something like that, that just creates the framework. So wherever we are that week, that month, we could fill it in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you said, it's a template. So right now it's just organized by these two columns, project and status.
You
Is
know,
there
going,
anything else that you would want to add
well,
based
I
on?
would I
No.
would like to, so going forward, so now I kind of understand what this is. And I think going forward, really, it would be following, so my offices gave recommendations this year and prior to me, and some of those recommendations are still pending. So some of the things that I would be interested in is looking back at our past recommendations and using our recommendation tracker and saying there are some that have been implemented and some that are pending implementation. And so we want to guide them on where are we at with these recommendations that have been issued maybe sometimes a couple of years ago.
So we could potentially kind of, to take both what you were saying, IG Maloof, and what you were saying, Vice Chair, um, we could have a section on pending recommendations. And whatever the recommendation is that you would like the commission and the chief to focus on that month or that at that meeting, you can rotate those in for some period of time and then rotate them out to whatever the next recommendation is that we'd like to be updated on. Because the original idea, and I'm sorry I wasn't here for the last couple of meetings. The original idea when this template was created, probably a year and a half ago, was to create kind of create this template so that when the chief and OPD came in to do their reports to the commission, the chief had kind of some guidance on what he or she should report on, because it seemed as though at a certain point, uh, it was just kind of an OPD report on crime statistics, and
Right.
the commission really wanted to guide the chief on what was important that was important to the commission and what was, of course, within the commission's authority and bailiwick. So to the extent, as you were saying, IG, that there are these pending recommendations that are out there, we don't know what's happening to them. There could be a section on pending recommendations, and then IG and the commission could rotate in whatever the specific objections are, recommendations that you would like update on that particular meeting or that month or that 2 months.
Hmm. Perfect. Thank you for that background, Katina. Chair Ricardo.
Yeah, hey, good evening, everyone. Sorry, I missed the first part of the agenda for the day of what we're working on. Are we spending the majority of our time just working on the template today?
Now here it is right here. So we're gonna go over the template and the KPIs we went over the timeline, and we're gonna go over the template and KPIs, and then for about 40 minutes. And then we're gonna go over the sustainability period recommendation. And then we might talk about whether or not, if we feel that we need to have like additional small groups in between these meetings, I set aside 5 minutes to talk about that just in case.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wondering, there's a lot of good stuff on the template already. I don't think we need to recreate the whole template. I think the best thing we should do is probably just share, maybe somebody share, if you could share a screen, Commissioner Farmer, and we could just go through it and just see if there are certain areas that we need to bump up in terms of priority, in terms of the order, or which things we want to remain on here, or if there's things absolutely that were just like useless that we don't want to have on here. I mean, I think that just needs to be the exercise. And then within each of these sections, if there's additional stuff to add, such as what IG provided to us, then we could add that as well too.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
gonna
thank
do
you.
that. I'm happy to start from the top and go down.
Okay, yeah, no,
Because we're jumping around, and so I'm having a hard time following.
No, I hear you. That it's kind of hard to follow because we're on section 5. No, I get that. But no, ideally tonight, last week I emailed everyone the KPIs and the template, and I asked everyone to email me by Friday or this weekend with their input so that we could talk about it. So I could already have it, and then we would talk about just your input tonight. But I only got input from one person, honestly. So I understand everybody's busy. I'm not
Oops.
upset or anything, but I'm just saying that's why. And then so IG wasn't totally clear on where he's supposed to put in input for the template. So he started here with this section 5, the IG section. So that's why we're on 5. But yeah, I would like to start from the top as well. And I know, Mr. Contreras, you have a question, and you made a really good point in the chat about the Skelly information, that we want to get that on here as well. I agree with you. And then what else did you want to add, Mr. Contreras?
Well,
And
first
also
of
back to
all,
you, Farah.
first of all, I did attempt to make these recommendations, make the comments, but I'm just kind of, challenged when it comes to, it wasn't a Google Doc. So I made the changes, and then I thought I had sent it, but it never got sent. And
Yeah.
I don't know where it is. But so,
I'm okay with doing it tonight. I
okay.
just would save
Okay,
it some
so
time.
on the Skellies, yeah, what I wanted to, and I brought this up at the last police commission meeting, but yeah, the question there it should be asked, and it could maybe be asked once a month, is what percentage of Skellies resulted in overturned discipline, and then were they referred to the police commission for maybe forming a discipline committee. And then
Is that
these,
already on here somewhere about Skelly's?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
Not the percentage of overturned
Here it is.
discipline cases.
IAB cases, Skelly hearing results. I'm sorry, you wanted to hear, what about the overturn percentage?
Yeah, what percentage of Skellies resulted in overturned discipline?
And then we'll go back to the top as chair and vice chair were saying. I just wanted to capture your
Okay.
input, and I see a place to maybe put it in. So, okay. Anything else, sir?
Yeah, but if we're going to start from the top, it's the one on section F1 604 F1. I don't know if people know the history behind that. Um, and that should be asked almost, it's my opinion, it should be asked almost at every police commission meeting. The report should include that. When when there's a public complaint done to CIPRA or to the OPD,
Mm-hmm.
they are required to share them. So if CIPRA receives a public complaint, they're required to share with IAB. The same with IAB if it's a public complaint. If internally within OPD there is not a public initiated complaint, then they are not required to share with CIPRA unless the OIG and the CIPRA director or the police commission by majority vote request that information.
Yeah,
So
report out on a non-public complaint, like you said last week. Is that what you're referring to?
yes, yes,
You want to, yeah, so we'll put that here in the IAB cases section. And I'm just going to shorten it.
yeah. And because if that's not asked, often, that's when, stuff gets hidden or, not disclosed.
I hear you. That's what happened with one of the Tran issues, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, let's go back to the top. Ricardo, do you have something else to add? No? Okay. Anyone else right now? Good. All right, let me go back to the top. Okay, so here, another thing that we talked about was where are we going to put the KPI information? I had always envisioned putting a lot of the KPI, like indicator type questions here in the template. Then we ask those questions and request that information, and then on our own, we score them and determine the next steps. Did anyone have a chance to look at the task two KPIs, the draft or the wellness KPIs? Anybody? No? Okay, let me pull
I
up.
oh I
Yeah,
did, Commissioner Farmer. My only question is, given some of those categories, I don't think we have visibility on all of those things unless we sit in every single meeting and have um we have like either a process or a strategy in which every commissioner at some point, or we have assigned people to every meeting, which is every IMT
yeah,
meeting, every IAB transition meeting, every
yeah.
the
Every
weekly
meeting
risk
that they
management
have.
meetings,
Yeah,
and we can't give a score without being present in all of those meetings,
yeah.
or at least reviewing those documents that are provided in those meetings. Now, between Director Lawson and IG Malouf,
Hmm.
they're also in a good amount of those meetings and could probably provide perspective and updates on that. We just
Hmm.
have to have a process in which we solicit that information and populate that scorecard, and it's going to be
Yeah,
based off of their kind of like where it's at, and what happens when that contradicts the scorecard that maybe the monitor has in those specific
yeah.
guys.
I don't even know, right? No, all great points. And I don't even know if the monitor has a scorecard or exactly what he's using to evaluate the subtasks of the task. But I don't believe that. I don't know. My feeling is that they don't have anything in detail, and so those points that you made about like IG and Director Lawson, the meetings that they're sitting in on, I think that we would need to receive feedback from them. Here, I'll pull up the task two KPIs, and then I'll get to you, Inspector General Maloof, about like what information. Wait, is this? No, it's a different one, different presentation. Give me a second here. Let me pull it up here. We need to know exactly what information um, they're able to get from the meetings they go to, and then maybe we can ask the other questions. So, that's what we're trying to figure out exactly what we want to ask on the template, and it's kind of up to us to figure that out. So, subtask 2.1, for example, and then before we go over this, Inspector General Maloof, you got a comment?
I did, yes. And so I attend a lot of meetings. As a matter of fact, tomorrow I have a meeting regarding with risk management. And sometimes some of the information needs to be reported out. And I just wasn't quite clear on how it can be reported out. For example, the amount of arrests against certain ethnic groups, and some things are good, they're moving in the right direction. Sometimes they're not moving in the right direction. And I'm looking at these stats and I'm like, wow, this, and I was talking to Tony about it. And I was like, or he was saying, somehow we need to report this information out. And so I don't know if this is the venue or whether I would report out on it, doing my report out bi-monthly or every other month.
Okay. Well, for example, well, I guess some of the information would make sense just to include in your report out, right? And then other information that we're not currently getting that we think is important, then we can put it on the template. And then when we get that information plus your information, then we can provide a score. So we also may not want to use all these indicators. I know for a fact that, so for subtask 2.1, for example, here on the screen, they're doing this information, right? The 85% of cases done within 180 days, class one and class two. So these first two indicators, that's being done. Actually, the first three, IAB did not fail to meet the 304 cases. They're evaluating that like on a weekly basis, right? I believe that you and Director Lawson attend a meeting every week where they're supposed to do this at the bottom. Documentation showing that cases close to their expiration date are reviewed with the chief weekly. You guys, I believe, go to that meeting, right? We've talked about it. So 4 of the 5 indicators here, they're happening. I'm not sure how frequently they're talking about the 85% of class 1 and class 2 cases, but I would think that they would be talking about that weekly or every other week. Maybe you guys talk about that at the weekly meeting. The only new thing in here that I proposed, basically, that I don't know if this is being tracked, are whether safeguards are in place to prevent delays in the class 1 and class 2 review process. Maybe they'll say that a safeguard, an example of a safeguard, is having this weekly meeting with the chief. But what else is there? What else could there be that we could ask for that would be a good safeguard to help drive compliance with this area of task 2? That's really the point behind these KPIs. Really, like in my mind, I would like to show that we're evaluating this more effectively than the monitor may even be doing. And maybe the judge sees what we're doing and thinks the same thing. And it builds confidence and trust that we can really do this oversight thing fully and completely. So that's really one of the driving factors behind these KPIs. So the only really new thing here for subtask 2.1 is this. So do people think that this is, and this is a little bit vague. So like what else could be a safeguard that we could ask for? This is what I really want to put our heads together on. And this is just example for subtask 2.1. This is something we could ask for.
So
I do not know what to ask yet. Ricardo, go.
yeah, so real quick, and aside from just the safeguard indicator, I just think in general, just the report card in general, right? There's a lot of work that's being done by multiple type of efforts to help improve these different areas, right? And so I think what the monitor gets is a report on how good they're doing on this. Black and white, it's the numbers are the numbers, right? Are they hitting this 85% threshold or not? We're getting those IAB reports that are telling us, where they're at within that percentage, right? I think what the court needs to hear is all the things that we're doing behind the scenes that are actually leading them to improve these outcomes, to stay in compliance. So aside from so if we could imagine a world where there is no federal monitor, what would that look like? Would it be IG providing the scorecard because he and Director Lawson like providing a scorecard, and then on ones that they're deficient in, then those are the ones that we focus on intently to be able to help them in certain areas that we do have where we do have influence and impact over to be able to make that happen. Because I don't think just us evaluating them and grading them and then telling the monitor a grade even captures the story. It's like, hey, IG or the monitor, you guys could grade them, and depending on where they're at, we know. So let's say the 2.1, we know that they were out of compliance in that because they were under the 85%, right?
Yeah.
So what are all the things that we're doing behind the scenes that are driving and supporting them to get back above, and making sure that they're compliant to get back above the 85%, right? We're looking at ourselves internally, make sure they're not SIPR cases that are driving that number under, right? And then we're holding them accountable around the 180 days and communicating with CIPRA and being proactive around some of those things so that they could get that up as well, right?
Yes.
Now, who determines the improvement, whether they're going in the right direction or not? Like in my mind, that would be like, whether it's the monitor or IG or somebody else on us, like, are our efforts improving OPD score, right?
Yeah, no, I hear you. And then, so what you said about all the different efforts that are going on and that information that's being compiled, um, ideally, I would like to get as much information about those efforts and information as possible, and either ask about that stuff as well, or maybe we come up with some new and improved things to ask about as well. That really is, and that would drive compliance. That's kind of like, the idea behind it. Mr. Contreras?
Yeah, I really like these indicators, and some may be, not right on point, or some may be a little stronger than others. But what it's doing is that it's defining a metric that has not really existed before, for compliance. And what it does actually in general in the long run is that it establishes a systemic measurement within OPD or within civilian oversight, so that this becomes part of it from now until, the existence of law enforcement here in Oakland. So I like where it's going, and if we look at it in the long run, that's what the goal is. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that, because right now it's not intended to be perfect right now. Like, we're brainstorming, we're trying to figure it out, we're still compiling information. Maybe this changes, but the fact that we're developing this um, is good. I think it will help drive compliance and is something that we can use moving forward. So um, I'm not sure exactly what to do in terms of like next steps to gather all the information that you're referring to, share all the different efforts. Maybe that could be something like a to do. And then when we get that information, we can either include some of that here as indicators, or we can evaluate it and determine whether or not we think of an additional safeguard that we can ask that would be something reasonable that OPD could give us feedback on. And then I just want to go quickly, and then I'll get to you, Shawana. Actually, I'll go to you now, Shawana. Go.
Wait, did you make this, Omar, yourself?
Yes.
So what I was just thinking based on what Chair said too, if we um have something like this with indicators, we can have another column that says OPC's engagement or something like that. So like, let's say if it's a 4 or a 3 tracking, and then it might know, it say OPC extended our timeline so we could better track this, or OPC gave us 30 days to follow back up. So we have 3 columns, we have an indicator, we have a score, and we have OPC's involvement, and so it's in just one
Okay.
place.
Yeah, no, that sounds really interesting, right? Because then we could start off by maybe just tracking what's already in place and not coming up with too many new ideas yet, and just put in like how we're evaluating it at the moment, right? And then
Right.
maybe later come up with a new indicator.
Yeah, 100%. So
Okay.
we have a sense of what's there and where we are and what we need, and then also what we've already done, and it helps us track that as well.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, I really like that personally.
When we
Ricardo,
say,
how do you feel about that?
yeah, I love that. That captures exactly what I was trying to say, because I think
Okay.
we need to, aside from the score, we need to be able to demonstrate and show all the different outputs that we are putting our time into that's going to theoretically impact that score, right, and improve that score. When we say we are evaluating, who are we talking about in terms of we? Is that IG? Is it OPC?
I was thinking NSA Ad Hoc.
Collection, this group here?
Yeah, I mean, unless we want to have the IG do it instead. But I was thinking the commission. I was thinking it would start with the NSA ad hoc, and then we would bring the rest of the information to the rest of the commission, like maybe once a month, at one meeting a month, and then
So we
like
need certain people on this ad hoc that have access to the information that's needed in some of these areas to truly evaluate progress.
yeah,
So let's say, so like the 2 point, the task subtask 2.1 that was talking about the 85%. Um, unless you have those IAB reports or in those meetings, none of us here in this group could report back on that progress or evaluate that progress.
but isn't this something that we can ask the chief to report out on once a month? Why, I don't see why not. They're talking about this like every week, I would think.
Well, I think we would, okay, just tracking time. Do y'all want to get in the weeds of what to track here, or do you want to get in the weeds more of what's going to be on the template, and then we could get in the weeds of how they report it out?
Yeah, no, because you're right, because we are
Okay,
coming up
yeah.
at 6:40 for
Yeah.
the end of the template and KPI discussion. So my feeling was that some of this KPI information would be on the template, but like you said, I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion about that right this second.
Well, for
Yeah, I
example,
don't think
then,
it, I think it's too soon to consider some of the stuff on the template, but I do like, Omar, what you're saying. Like, I do think in that category, similar to what I said the other meeting, is we start to just be clear on asking on, maybe cycling through the different tasks that aligns with how the IG is exploring and reviewing the task. So it's not just stuck on task 2 or whatever task it is. It just might be a cycle of tasks or an alignment, whatever came up in the policy review. But I think just making sure we have a structure first seems important. And then I'm happy to go a little more in the weeds with you with this thing.
Okay,
yeah,
let's
so like
plan.
going back,
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't think we should totally go into the weeds with this right here because there's some work, there's a really good start and just adding to it. But in
Mhm.
terms of the process, right? Like if we're asking OPD to report back on their template around task 2, because that's one of the main tasks that they're out of compliance on, right? And it could be rotating depending on what tasks IG on an ongoing basis is finding that they're out of compliance on, right? Or in this case, the federal monitor right now, right? So if they're out of compliance on task 2, then in the template, they should be reporting back on all their efforts to get back into compliance. And then we could break it down into these subtasks, right? And ask them questions depending on how. And now in IG's report back, he's talking about how he's scoring. I don't know. I'm just hypothetically putting this up there. He's talking about he's scoring these different areas, right? And then within compliance of this task. And then let's say they're doing really well in some areas but struggling in other areas in these KPIs, then we focus the KPIs that we want OPD to report back on the ones that they're struggling on and what they're
Yeah.
doing to remedy those things. And we just
Right.
keep it focused like that. And then we also need a process though, because then we need a process in which we are letting OPD know by the time well, I mean, I guess if we keep it general, we don't necessarily have to post it. Or I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking we'd have to have that information before we actually post our agenda to say, all right, IG, what are the areas, or let's discuss what are the areas that we want to focus on for this reporting, this reporting template within tasks, within these subtasks, right? Or
Mhm.
whatever tasks we're going to apply. That way, OPD already knows ahead of time, okay, when I talk about it, when I'm reporting back in the template and I'm talking about the tasks that we're out of compliance on, right? I know that OPC is going to want us to focus or report back on these certain areas, or we just leave it open ended and we know as commissioners these are the ones that we have to ask about.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
do need to highlight the ones; those are the ones that are either out of compliance or the ones that are receiving relatively lower grades.
Right. Okay. No, I agree with all of that. Let me go back to the template. Okay. Where's Okay, we're not going to have time to go over the rest of this. I think that we're just going to have to do homework again and then come back next week and report out on the homework. And Shawana, I'm going to get with you during the week to talk more about the task 2 KPIs. And then Inspector General Maloof, I'm also going to reach out to you about, and I'm going to reach out to Director Lawson. He's unable to join us tonight. He's not feeling well. I'm going to reach out to you and Director Lawson about the different meetings that you go to and the different information that's discussed, and then we'll take it from there. Anything
Oh,
else about
can you send us this, Omar, the one you started to edit?
with the template one? Yeah, no
Mhm.
problem. Yes, I will.
Alternate Commissioner Farmer, can you also resend the timeline, the full timeline? The one that I can find is the one that ended in July. And these are new dates, so I want to be able to put them in the calendar for us.
Oh, no problem. I will do that as well.
Okay.
So, Micah, I will send you the timeline. Everyone, I will send you this updated OPD template draft. At least we got started.
Yeah.
I think
Commissioner Farmer,
I think
is
it's a
there
good
any way you can
start.
send that in a editable form, like a Google Doc or?
I thought I did. I sent it as a Microsoft Word doc.
And you can edit and
You know what?
it
I'll
records
cut and
that?
paste it and put it as a Google Doc. I think Micah may have also sent it to me as a Google Doc.
Mhm.
And I'll just Google share it with everybody, and then you can edit it.
Yeah, that
All
would be
right,
the best
thank
way
you.
for us to all just start adding our edits and comments on there.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right.
Quick
Very
question,
good.
really quickly. So since you still have to flesh this out, is there anything else you're going to need before you need to submit the CMC statement to me by the 9th? Or is that done, or are you still doing that?
Wait, what do you mean? Say that. What do you mean by the? Oh, you mean the actual CMC statement?
Yeah, isn't that slated to send to me so it can be posted for our 9th meeting?
Oh no. So okay, so we updated the template. Oh, you weren't here because I did the
Right.
meeting. Yeah, no, we changed that, so it's not going to be ready to go by the 9th. See, I took it off. We were
Okay,
gonna.
that's why I was asking for the timeline. Okay,
No,
okay, great.
great question. So we had that here, and I
Mhm.
changed it to this to propose KPIs and OPD template. But I'm not sure.
So
Uh,
you guys aren't doing any kind of vote for the 9th? Nope.
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay,
we would have to have it to you by like Friday if we were going to do
right.
it, right? So yeah.
And I was just letting you know I was gonna be out of town, so we'd have to coordinate around that. So there's no need because we're not gonna do it to post for the meeting on the 9th. Okay, cool.
No, we're going to have to do it at the meeting on the 23rd, basically. This is going to get
Okay,
bumped down to here.
all right, sounds good. Thank
All
you.
right. So on that note, yo, I'm sorry, I gotta take a call, but on that note, Omar, I sent you a bunch of notes that we should start thinking about of things that we need to be reporting back on.
Okay. You mean the stuff that was that we talked about last week that was in the original OPD template ad hoc, that stuff?
No. I just sent you an outline of a bunch of different
Uh,
things that I think we should start thinking about
okay.
covering and reporting back on for our CMC statement.
Okay, got it. All right.
Because again, this is really high level right here, but I don't think it really highlights getting into the granular of like how are we leading them to better scores in their KPIs? How are we, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And how are we driving compliance? And there's so much work that IG is doing, that CIPRA is doing, that we're doing. We're in all kinds of meetings, and we're really just trying to figure out a way to organize all those outputs so that the city could really embrace like, oh yeah, you guys are doing hell of a lot of shit, you know, and that's complementing our compliance and our scorecards with the monitor currently, right? And
Yeah.
so I wanted to just kind of did a brain dump and just trying to figure that out. And I think, you know, even IG's letter that he wrote, I think a lot of the elements in that could be contained within that, and then also including a lot of what CIPRA is doing. But I did want to highlight some of the stuff that OPC is doing because we are in a lot of meetings and we're driving work in different ad hocs and we're doing different efforts and coordinating our work within the city. So I try to just summarize some of that stuff because I
Mhm.
also think that these are the type of things that I could be able to tell the city and that
Mhm.
core working group, like, hey, y'all, this is what we're doing.
Yeah,
Include all this
exactly.
stuff into your
Right.
brief. If not, we're going to eventually include this in our own report directly to the judge.
Yeah, exactly. No, and thank you for bringing up the core report again. Um, we definitely want to continue to like collaborate with that process as well in terms of maybe some questions from here that you asked there. And then just one more thing on the template. Some things that you pointed out last week that I want to make sure that we get included in here. Like, for example, in the policy section, we want to talk about policies that we recently worked on, get any updates on those, or any policies that we're about to look at as a group that we have questions about, or impact on changes to policies, such as the reductions and extensions thing that they pointed out the last meeting. Those types of things within the policy section of the template. And then, as Vice Chair pointed out, update on maybe one different policy per meeting. So maybe we'll have like a list of things that we want to have reported out on, over the next 2 months, something like that. All right, but I think we're getting there. I think it's starting to come together, and I think we're off to a good start. All right, let's talk really quickly about the sustainability period recommendation. Um, so, Inspector General Maloof, can you speak to a little bit about what we talked about? You're muted, sir.
There we go. Okay. So I did take a look at some other cities across the United States, and it does look like on average a 2-year sustainability is probably the most acceptable thing. However, let me pull this up that I sent Commissioner Farmer. I'm just going to read it to make it easy so I don't just so that you guys can understand where I'm coming from as the Inspector General. And what I want to be careful is that giving specific input about making policy. And that is against GAGIS, Yellow Book, which is general auditing standards and things like that. So when it comes down to auditing, it's a violation for me to create policy and then later on potentially audit that policy that I created, conflict of interest. So
Mhm.
when we talk about sustainability, I think us as a group can easily come up and I can give my suggestion, but I don't want to be the main person to say, hey, we should do a 2-year sustainability because now I am now creating policy and years down the line, someone may say, hey, let's take an audit on whether 2-year sustainability is the right thing. Well, I know I created it and now I do an audit on it. It creates a conflict of interest. So I just want to be careful uh, at any time, at any ad hoc, whether it's this ad hoc or any other that I'm participating in, that I don't vocalize an idea or pushing forward for any specific type of new policy. And I should just stay in my lane and look at old policy, but not um, creating new policy. However, sustainability 2-year, I think, is highly recommended.
Okay. So you want us to do it without your input? Is that what you mean, or?
Well, I think my input is fine. But when it comes to taking the lead to say, hey, IG, what do you think about sustainability?
Okay.
And what's your suggestion? And then once I take that lead, that's why I think I might be crossing the line of creating policy.
Okay. Ricardo, go.
I have a question just more for the group in terms of what they remember from the judge saying at the last CMC statement. Um, because I don't remember there being a discussion at all around a sustainability period. And
I
my
don't think there
impression
has
from
been.
this and my impression from the city is they're not even planning on trying to go into a sustainability period. They're just trying to get off this damn thing. And so I
Yeah.
don't know what that means. So
Right.
and if that's the case, I don't know if we should be the one suggesting further sustainability period I if the judge says, hey, you guys are in compliance, you're ready, and the city's like, yeah, we're ready, everything's looking great, and we're kind of like, well, okay, y'all determine that, but whatever you determine, we're also ready and ready to monitor and have a strong civilian oversight structure regardless of where we land, right? I think if we end up saying, yeah, everybody, but I think we should still remain in a sustainability period for 2 years, right? I mean, I don't, that's going to be flatly rejected across the board by everybody, including probably the public as well, except for the folks like the CPAB or folks or like ourselves that actually understand the nuances of like, oh, I don't know. I mean, it would be good to show sustainability period, right? That they could sustain compliance for a certain time before we get off. But I don't know. It sounds like that step is being skipped over. I don't know. It's more of a
Yeah,
question to
no,
folks.
I hear you. And that's like one of my concerns as well is that there's never been a plan for like turnover. You know, like how are they going to turn this thing over and then get into a sustainability period? And I just was thinking of this, like from our perspective, what would we create as a framework to oversee them during a sustainability period, and then ideally, we're able to get the city on the same page as well. But it may be getting ahead of ourselves. We may just want to make like some general recommendations, or we may want to just put that down as like a long-term thing that we're working on, and maybe not get into too many details yet until we have more information. Um, so, Mr. Contreras, you have a comment? And then I'll get to you, IG.
Yeah, I think that before we can recommend a sustainability period or anyone, there has to be, compliance with or met all 52 tasks,
Mhm.
or getting close to it. But before this group, I think, can make any kind of recommendation, we've got to ask ourselves at least two questions. One is, do we think that OPD can police or be accountable to themselves? Can they police themselves? That's one question. Second one is, have they demonstrated a measurable culture change? Those two things. And then we can start to talk about, recommending, um, you know, getting out of the NSA and then a sustainability period. And then even before that, I believe that we have to review all 52 tasks and see, where have they gone, the ups and downs, have some just been completely ignored, and so those are the two questions. Do we believe that OPD can police themselves, and has there been a measurable culture change? Thank you.
Okay, so based off of that, I like where you're going with that. Maybe this ad hoc can also have like a short, medium, and long-term plan for what we want to do or what we want to see. And in the short term, that's what we evaluate, like you're saying. And then part of the, I guess, maybe short to medium term, the only thing we say about a sustainability period is that we can reference how, on average, other departments have a sustainability period of 2 years, and just leave it at that, maybe for now. Um, that's what I'm thinking of based off what you said.
I think our definition of sustainability period needs to be different than the court's definition of sustainability period. The court's looking at, can you sustain compliance for a certain amount of time, and then we feel good about going away. Us, we're not ever going away. So our sustainability period is forever, right? We want to sustain this thing forever. So what does that look like? Rolling audits, pulling tasks, IG reviewing old policies, us coming up with new policies. Like, what does that cadence look like? That's what we have to demonstrate and show that we're currently doing, and that we're ready to take the next step in doing so, whether we get off this thing or not. It doesn't, like, for us, like, we got to just stay neutral. I mean, my recommendation, we stay neutral, say, hey, that's not enough for us to litigate. Y'all figure that out. The city, OPD, OCA, they're going to paint some picture of the judge. The judge is going to have his motivations, yes or no, to get off. What we know is that for long-term sustainability into the future, right, of Oakland, these are the elements that we feel like we could bring to the table that have to be in place for us to make sure. And then that way, if there's backsliding on any task, we'll catch it right away. If there's policies that need to get updated, we could identify that right away. If there's patterns in practice that need new policies, we could identify. We have the systems in place, and what does that look like? Does that mean the IG is doing rolling audits every quarter, and or like every year they're picking 2 tasks, and what does that look like? I mean, obviously it has to match our capacity too, because we could do a lot more if we had more capacity. But where are we currently at? We still have the capacity to do something, and what does that look like?
And all of that, Ricardo, can be part of, like, say, the long-term plan framework for a long-term plan, right? And maybe we even work in that long-term plan stuff that you mentioned and the short to medium stuff that Mr. Contreras mentioned into our strategic plan. So, and we're going to be meeting about that tomorrow. Maybe we want to bring up some of what we discussed here to put that as a part of those objectives as well. Maybe.
And I'm sorry, just to jump in one more time. I know IG had his hand up. And to that point, we did decide today that we're not going to have our phase 2 of the strategic plan until our December meeting, so that it's fresh in everybody's minds. We have time to work on it, and we have time to reflect on the CMC, the case management conference that's happened a few days before our actual meeting, so that we could reflect on what was said and what the outcome was of that conference, and have that inform the final decision of the strategic plan, and the whole community phase 2 process that we're hoping to have. So we'll have some time to formulate, really get this down, and then put that into the strategic plan moving forward in January.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're still meeting as an ad hoc tomorrow, right? You're not saying about that.
Yes,
Correct.
we are.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. IG.
I'll make it real quick in time. So I totally agree with Garcia Costa and Contreras. One and two points. Number one, I think sustainability is a court decision. That's number one. And number two, if we were to say sustainability should be 2 years, would the court say, what's wrong? You're not ready, IG, commissioners? And because if we say 2 years, I don't want to question that we're not ready for oversight. So those are just 2 points I want to make. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyone else before I go to public comment? Is there anyone from the public, Micah?
Yes, there was one person. It's Miss Nancy Swanson.
Does she have her hand up at all?
No. Miss Swanson, is there anything you'd like to say? Yes, no? I'm going to allow you to speak now. Miss Swanson, no? Asked to unmute. Here we go. I don't think so.
Okay. All right. No worries. Okay. So the only thing that we didn't discuss is this potential creating small groups. Actually, we did talk about it. Well, we talked about meeting outside of this meeting a little bit. So between now and the next meeting, I'm going to meet with Vice Chair Booker, as well as Inspector General Maloof. I'm going to reach out to him. But we haven't officially created any small groups. I'm going to review this meeting and make sure that I captured everything. I'm going to email out to everyone the OPD template as a Google Doc. I believe you already have the KPIs as a PowerPoint, so you can add stuff to that document if you would like. The one thing that I'm going to for sure add after I talk to Vice Chair Booker again is the column about the OPD or OPC, follow-up or update, whatever we end up calling it. So that's all I have. Does anyone else have any final thoughts? And so just for next week, please review that template, the OPD template in the Google Doc, and make comments, ideally by Friday, please. So then I can look at it all over the weekend. But obviously, I mean, you have the weekend to put stuff as well. And I see that you sent me that email, Ricardo. I'm going to incorporate that information as well. And yeah, I think that's it. And then if you have any input as well about the wellness KPIs, a lot of that stuff, maybe not all of them, but some of that stuff helps drive sustained cultural change. Please at least take a look at that document and let me know what you think in terms of feedback. Maybe that's not a short-term thing. Maybe it's more of a long-term thing. But some of that stuff does help us achieve cultural change. Any final thoughts?
Commissioner Farmer.
Okay, Mariano, then Ricardo.
Just on that, a quick question. Did you ever get any feedback from OPD on that wellness?
Now, I reached out to Sergeant Pierce and their civilian person in an email. Like first, DC Osmus emailed me, and then I emailed them back. We had like one email exchange, and then they didn't. Then I didn't hear back from them again. So I was going to follow up on that again to see where we're at. Ricardo?
Yeah, I like that idea too, as we're looking at the KPI document, that we look at that third column and ask ourselves, like, who
Hmm.
owns that work and where does it
Yeah.
live at, right?
Yeah.
And then that way we could start seeing also like all of our different arms of oversight and how they influence these different KPIs, right? Because
Yeah.
IG might be taking lead on one of those, whereas one is more appropriate with the meetings that we have as OPC somewhere, right? So I think we should think about that third column to really identify where that work lives, and really that also tells us what areas of our outputs are really having impact on those outcomes we want
Hmm.
to see with regarding those specific KPIs.
No, I think it's really going to help us get organized. Micah?
Yes, if you would like, you may have, and I don't, I'd have to look for it. If you can forward your email to Osmus, DC Osmus, then I can try to piggyback on that to try to get you traction. One, and number two, are you talking about Ann Pierce?
I know
Is
she's retired now, right?
Yes, yes,
So,
she
yeah.
retired, so she's
Mhm.
not going to respond. I just want to make sure you're not waiting for something
No,
from
she
her.
had, I mean, the email connection was made back in like August. So Anne was
Ah,
on there
got it. She
and
was
she
still
did
here.
respond, but now she's gone. So I don't know
Okay.
who's filling in for her now.
Yeah, her name is Michelle. No worries. Just bump it up to me again, and then I can bump it up to them to try to get traction for you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Any
You're
other
welcome.
final thoughts? Anyone? 702.
No, commissioners and inspector general, thank you for all your work. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your participation. Everyone have a great night. I'll see you next Monday.
Great job, Chair. Thank you, man.
Bye.
Bye.